Ever feel like you're just one word away from nailing that presentation or perfectly expressing yourself?
I know what you mean.
Sometimes the right word can make all the difference. And that's what we're diving into today, powerful vocabulary that can help you communicate more effectively.
Yeah, think of it as upgrading your language toolkit.
Exactly. We've got 5 amazing words to explore, and we'll be pulling examples from various articles and discussions to really illustrate how they work in different contexts. So, are you ready to level up your language game?
Let's do it.
All right. First up is astute. What pops into your mind when you hear that word?
Someone who's sharp, insightful, able to see what others miss, like a detective noticing the tiniest clue.
Exactly. They can quickly size up a situation and make smart decisions based on what they observe. One of our articles gave a fantastic example of an astute manager.
Oh, tell me about it.
They were leading a company through a merger, which can be incredibly tricky, right?
Oh, absolutely. So many potential problems.
But this manager was able to anticipate those problems. Like, they knew which departments might clash and how to smooth things over. They also saw opportunities that others overlooked, ultimately making the merger a success.
It's like having a sixth sense for navigating complex situations.
For sure. It reminds me of those investors who seem to know exactly when to buy and sell stocks. They have that astute understanding of the market.
They can spot those trends and patterns, making moves that lead to, well, big profits.
It makes you wonder, who are some of the most astute people you've encountered, and what makes them so good at what they do?
That's a great question to ponder.
Definitely. Now let's switch gears a bit. What's a word you might use to describe something that causes harm or damage? Like, it's not just bad, it's actively doing something negative.
Detrimental immediately comes to mind. It really emphasizes those harmful effects.
Yes. Like, we all know smoking is bad for you, but saying it's detrimental to your health really drives home the seriousness of the consequences.
Absolutely. And it's not just about physical health. Our sources talked about how certain social media trends can be detrimental to young people's self-esteem.
Yeah, constantly comparing yourself to others online can be really damaging.
For sure. And another example from the articles was about the detrimental effects of pollution on the environment. It's not just an eyesore, it's actively harming ecosystems and wildlife.
Really makes you think about the long-term impact of our actions,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Okay, moving on. Let's say you're in a meeting and someone starts explaining a project in incredible detail. They're covering every single step, every possible outcome, every tiny detail. What word comes to mind?
Elaborate, for sure. They're giving you the full, in-depth picture.
Exactly. And it's interesting because elaborate can also describe something that's intricately designed or decorated, like a fancy dress or an ornate building.
It's all about complexity and detail, whether it's an explanation or a physical object.
One of our articles talked about a scientist giving an elaborate presentation on their research. They didn't just present the findings, they walked the audience through the entire process, step by step.
And that can be really powerful, especially when you're trying to make a complex topic understandable.
Absolutely. It's like when an artist meticulously adds layer upon layer of detail to a painting. It becomes this rich, elaborate work of art.
And it's not just about throwing in a bunch of details randomly. It's about choosing the right ones to create a specific effect, to tell a story.
I love that. Now imagine a situation where something bad has happened, a natural disaster, a financial crisis, you name it, but people are working hard to lessen the impact of this situation.
That's where mitigate comes in. It's all about reducing the severity of something negative, taking steps to make things a bit less awful.
Our sources talked about how governments try to mitigate the effects of economic recessions by offering financial assistance or creating jobs programs.
Right. It's about softening the blow, helping people get back on their feet.
And we see this in the healthcare field too, right? Doctors use medications and therapies to mitigate the symptoms of diseases.
Absolutely. It's not always about finding a cure, but about improving quality of life despite the challenges.
And what about those efforts to mitigate climate change? That's a huge area where people are working to reduce the negative impacts of global warming.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to limit those effects, even if we can't completely reverse them.
Okay, last but not least, let's talk about a word we can probably all relate to on a personal level. You know those times when you accidentally do something you didn't mean to?
Like hitting reply all on an email when you only meant to send it to one person.
Been there. Or maybe you accidentally deleted an important file or locked yourself out of your house.
Those are all great examples of acting inadvertently. It means doing something unintentionally without meaning to.
One of our articles gave a funny example of someone inadvertently leaving their wallet at a restaurant. It's a common mistake, but it can be a real headache.
Definitely. And while those everyday mishaps are usually harmless, inadvertently can also apply to more serious situations.
Like when a company inadvertently releases confidential information,
Mm.
or a government policy has unintended negative consequences.
Right. Those actions might not be malicious, but the results can still be significant.
It's a good reminder to be mindful of our actions, even the seemingly small ones. So there we have it, 5 powerful words to add to your vocabulary: astute, detrimental, elaborate, mitigate, and inadvertently.
And remember, it's not just about sounding smarter, it's about thinking more clearly and communicating more effectively.
I challenge you to try using these words in your conversations and writing this week. You might be surprised at how they elevate your language and help you see things from new angles.
I bet you'll start noticing these words pop up more often as you pay attention to.
Totally. Until next time, keep those words flowing and those minds expanding.
See you on our next deep dive.
Bye for now.